Currently, I have no idea what I'm doing yet, so as of now, you actually know more than I do what happened in the video, but that seems to be the trend from now. It's like I have a plan, but not really. Now what I do know though is I did start off making a rough cut of the song that I'm going to use, just so I have a general idea and I listen to it a million times before I even get started, because this is actually my source of inspiration first. Now lately in this video, since we are limited to home, I always like to start off with a dramatic lighting setup. So in order to do that, I have the Young Noah light that I've been mentioning very often in a lot of my videos, and this is attached to a super cheap microphone stand, which is why it has this disgusting bend in the middle, and it's not really good for the light, but gotta make do. So for this one, I either want it to kind of flip off the table and then reverse it, so that way when I do reverse it, it goes back on the table. Whoa. Oh, actually just had a spark of inspiration. So here in the game, there are actually two different kinds of bases. You have the white base and the black base. And I figured this would be fitting and more storytelling if I had one person sitting on that side and one person sitting on this side. So it's more immersive in the whole PvP style theme that we're going for in Skytear. This is a very handy time to know card tricks. One thing I'm going to do is, last time I kind of fanned it out like that. So I'm going to switch it up this time for Skytear. And instead, what I want to do is I want to just make a vertical line, horizontal line, however you see it. And then flip the cards over this way. And then as they flip over, one of the cards is going to block the lens like that. You'll see in a bit when I put it all together. And then that's going to transition into the 3 victory condition cards, kind of just boom, laying out right after. Okay, cards are way too slippery, so I'm just gonna try to hold them instead and just fold them back by holding them manually like this. Okay, so that's all I got for day one for now. I like to kind of leave the whole setup. That way tomorrow I can just get back right into it. And then before I forget, I also mark on my board just a couple quick notes for myself of the shots I need to get for tomorrow and or day 3. This right here is actually kind of my own version of music notes. So like the beat would go bum, pause, 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 bum, bum. So kind of my own rhythm that I have in my head. Just I'm always constantly thinking about it and knowing the beat and understanding it, because knowing that will actually dictate how I do my B-roll. So more on that tomorrow. Welcome back to day 2. It's now time to start addressing the list I made from yesterday. Starting off with Skytear Flare. So instead of just sticking this card on the table, make it a little bit dramatic, as per usual. And I think I want to do 3 consecutive shots really quick. So start off with showing the back cover of the card, and then a Yu-Gi-Oh style pull frame, following the card, and then back onto the board in the spot where it should be. Right there. And I like this like little glare you can see on the card. I like that glare effect, so I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of those. So I'm going to redo this one more time with the glare. Okay, one more. I'm going to go Introducing White Jacket. So since this character is going to come into play, I think it fits nicely because Skytear also has these white and black bases, which would work out well since one person's going to be controlling the white based miniatures and the other person's going to use the black bases. So this works out nicely in the story. So the camera's going to face this direction now, and I want to whip it in and also throw the cards in play. That way the cards kind of float into the next clip. Just fan it across. Flip. Okay, so not bad for the first take. 2 problems. One is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to fan out the light that I have up top right here. I'm going to go ahead and point that out a little bit more towards me Secondly, I want to go ahead and fan it out in the opposite direction now. That way, when the cards are thrown, hopefully you see the Skytear logo, and it completely blocks out the camera. Ideally, it blocks out most of the camera, so I'll be able to mask it out easier. Okay, another problem I found with that one is that the cards are way too dark, so I do want to show the Skytear logo. In order to do that, I actually stuck another LED bar that I had underneath the camera, make it as dim as possible, and then on this one I shoved it back a little bit more towards the wall, so that way I don't really want my face to be too illuminated, because the goal here is to show off the cards. So for this next one, I have my tripod facing the outsider miniature, which is going to be summoned here. Here's the outsider card. That's where it's gonna go. So I'm gonna get a shot just by itself of this area, and then I'm gonna get a static shot of the miniature, and then put it together so it should look like. Okay, so before we dive into the miniatures, I think it's always important to kind of step back and think about your pacing. I feel like at this point, I feel like everything's been really fast paced, at least what I'm visualizing in my edit. So we always have to remember that the goal here is to showcase the components. Even though everything looks cool, we're still trying to give a story, and we're still trying to show important parts of the game. Which is why, hopefully there's a quick spot in the song where I can kind of take a step back and just showcase all like this amazing artwork. I mean, come on, like ice wall, stuff like that. So all these really cool sounding attacks. I want to highlight some of these really cool attacks, show off the character cards, and then we'll dive into the minis and when all the battle takes place. Hi, we are now in day 3 of filming. So looking at the board, I added some stuff here which are looking at the other minis and all the minions, and then we're gonna finish up with the battle. Now, honestly, this is my favorite part about filming. So this is actually probably the real, quote, payoff phase, and the reason for that is because when you're doing these cinematic sequences, the song builds up, and it gets to this point where this is the peak, this is where like all the action's happening, everything's a quick cut, it showcases everything, there's a bunch of stories, so many different kinds of effects, and it's just, this is the part where it's like, oh my god, this is so cool. Now here, we're going to do that via the battle phase. So I want both jackets, I want to say jackets, both people, aka me. So I want them to be using like summoning hand motions, that way I have some flexibility in post in case I can edit some kind of effects. So these minis are going to be summoned from the board. And then since this is a MOBA, there are armies constantly charging across each lane. So there's going to be minions going here, minions going there. So I just want a whole army of minions across the table. So I'm going to get a couple of shots of that. Shots of every single miniature, shots of using the technique cards or skill cards, and wrap it up with the ending, which I haven't figured out yet, but we will see how it goes. And we're now actually in day 4, so we're gonna wrap up for sure filming today. Tried to do it past couple days, but couldn't get to it. However, now we are finally at the battle part. And for this scene, since this is all about a MOBA and it's kind of this back and forth, I wanted to emulate that. As best as possible. So I'm going to actually start introducing these power cards and start. I don't know how I'm going to show like each individual one, since it's gonna be so hard to kind of read in a quick setting, but maybe we'll just zoom into the card real quick and then zoom back out so you can see like, oh, Hurricane Strike is about to happen, and then White Jacket's gonna do it, and then we're gonna switch off. But in order to film this part and save time, I'm actually gonna do all the parts of, quote, Black Jacket at once, and then switch over to White Jacket, and then we finish off with something. Hi, so one way I like to introduce movement in my shots also is to use a turntable. So this is how I like to get movement, especially if I'm filming myself. I'm gonna put my camera basically on here, and then it's gonna keep spinning until basically I get a shot that I like. The card, I want to show like the back of the card first as I'm walking away, and then just flip it to just finish off that scene. So that is a wrap. That is a wrap. I hope you all enjoyed the BTS. I know it's a bit disorganized, but honestly, that's kind of my thought process going into all these scenes. Maybe I'll make it more structured. So this is my process. It's what works for me. Sometimes it takes 1 day to shoot everything. Sometimes it takes 4 days. Sometimes it takes a year, aka Lords of Hellas. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you liked the sequence. And I will see you all on the next video.